Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Pod of War Games Cast. I am your host, EOF Gizmo, joined by Xbox Live and England's CW Lanky.
Hello.
Is it coming home, Craig?
We can only dream, Dave.
This is the last podcast we can say that, so...
It's the hope that gets you.
It's the hope that
It's
kills
always
you.
the hope.
The hope that kills you. And of course, PlayStation Zone. He hasn't had a PlayStation for like 6 months, but it's Chris Pengelly.
Hi everyone, it's Nintendo Zone.
Hashtag Year of the Switch. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Actually, no, it's not. It won't be Nintendo's Master. It'd be Nintendo's whatever the friend code is, because it's Nintendo.
Yeah, you need to come up with like a 12-digit code to put underneath your name at the start of every episode. No, Stadia Zone, massive DAS. So it's been obviously we've just had the E3 episode, did that last time. We've had the Simon trailer. That's the only other thing I think it's got on the channel. So we're having a bit of a catch up this week, boys, so we can figure out what's going on with our lives. Just let me switch to OBS and remember how to record a podcast because I'm on my computer. It's been a while. My head is massive as well. I love it.
Luckily, Dave is good with computers.
Well, I used to be, not anymore. Yeah. Those days are long gone. So we're going to start controversially. We're going to start with Craig. Craig, what have you been playing? What have you bought over the last couple of weeks, my boy?
So everyone will be glad to hear I managed to finish Observation before it left Game Pass. So that is all done now.
That's one on the Game Pass count, by the way. There'll be a lot on this episode.
Obviously, if you want to play that game now, you have to buy it on Xbox. And I had a little look to see how much that game is, and it is currently £21, which is way too much, if I'm honest. I would say if you're really into your sci-fi, if you're that sort of guy, this is probably one that you'd pick up in a sale for like a tenner or something like that. Definitely would not recommend spending £21 on it. I think it took me about 6 hours in total to finish it. It's okay. I'll give it the Chris Pengelly. It's fine. It's not exceptional really in any way.
I need a big stamp on screen.
Yeah, it has. So can you guys remember when Mass Effect Andromeda first came out and everyone was taking the piss out of the faces because they just didn't look quite right. They looked, the eyes are a bit weird. It was a little bit disconcerting looking at it. It kind of has that with there's not actually very many like human characters in the game, but the couple that you interact with have those weird faces, which is strange. And yeah, it's just fine. There's a weird mechanic in it where you like take control of a sphere as well sometimes because you play as the AI, you don't play as a human character.
Take control
of a sphere, and you have to fly it around. And it's set in the space station, and the space station is really good. You can tell that they actually looked at like the International Space Station, kind of modeled it on that, and it's like really detailed, really cool. But as you can imagine, trying to fly this little sphere around the space station where there's no gravity is nauseating as all hell. Like I've never done VR, I've never played it. I kind of get what people say about how like VR makes them feel a bit sick just from like doing that the couple of times you have to do it, because it is so easy to get turned around and suddenly you're upside down, but you're not really upside down because there's no gravity, but you know you're upside down and you're trying to turn around. It makes you feel a bit queasy, let's just say, the few times you have to do that. But yeah, I finished that. That's done. That's over. I then have my first pickup in a while as well, I believe. And that is Little Nightmares 2. Ooh. That is the wrong way around, but that will fix itself somehow.
Yeah, it looks fine in post, Craig. Don't worry.
Yeah. I managed to pick that up on eBay for £20, I believe, which is not bad for a physical edition. Yeah. I'm not sure how much it is digitally. I'd imagine it's probably a similar sort of price to that, maybe.
Yeah,
it was 25.
It was cheaper. Yeah, it was a cheaper like sort of release when it launched.
I wanted to pick it up physically because like spending that much on a digital game now just seems a lot to me. And also, obviously, I get the chance to sell it after I finish it. It is. I don't think Chris has played this. I'd say it's very, very similar to the first one.
Yeah.
It doesn't do a great deal different. It's maybe a little bit more platformy, I thought, which actually sometimes is to its detriment because trying to do the platforming in the weird perspective that this game has, where it's like kind of 2.5D, like this weird perspective, it's actually kind of difficult and can be a little bit frustrating. But when it's actually just doing the classic Little Nightmares like puzzles and that sort of thing, then the game's actually it's it's more Little Nightmares. It really is just a continuation of that. Managed to get the completion on this. It is a fairly easy completion. It is, I think it's like 25% completions on the true achievements, which is, you like to see. Basically did one playthrough kind of blind, just kind of enjoyed the game at my own pace, and then went back around and used, I believe it was a Macca's guide actually.
Of course.
Our good friend Macca.
Of course.
Did something like a 21-minute video where he kind of timestamps you all the missable achievements and the collectibles. And there's not that many collectibles either. There's like four per chapter, and there's only 4 chapters that you can get collectibles as well. There's a couple of hats per level, so it's like 6 per chapter. So it's really not too bad to go back around and get it all and get the completion. I've kept hold of it at the moment because on the first one they did a lot of DLC. I think they did 3 or 4 DLC packs for it. I know they've come out and said that this team is going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
And that it's unlikely they're going to do DLC, but there is a next gen patch coming for it fairly soon, I believe. So someone's obviously still working on it somewhere. So I'll give it a couple of months, and if they've still not pumped out any DLC, then that will get sold. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Especially if you played the first one and you enjoyed the first one. I'd maybe wait for the next gen patch though, if you do have next gen consoles, just because why wouldn't you at this point? But yeah, that was a solid game. And then my second pickup, and this is, I mean, earthquakes are happening all across the world now. The idea of me having 2 pickups, and that is Resident Evil Village. And this is
a collector's edition.
The fancy Steelbook edition. Listen to this. Oh, that's beautiful.
Didn't hear a single thing in, Craig.
No. Got the Steelbook edition because it was, I got it on eBay for, I think it was 35. And it was pretty much the same for the Steelbook or the normal edition. So I just want to get the fancy edition. Why not? Played it for about 4 hours, I'd say, something like that, over the last few days. Seems really cool, seems really good. Very similar to Resident Evil 7. It is scary. A lot of people have said that this is just an action game. It's more actiony than 7, definitely, but it is definitely still has like horror elements to it. If someone like Dave went into this bar and was like, oh, everyone says this is an action game, yeah, he would, you'd be surprised quite quickly.
It's still a hard no.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Still a hard
no. Yeah, if the medium's too much, then that is definitely too much. But yeah, it seems cool. I kind of like how different it is to 7 in the sense that it's much less about conserving ammo and that sort of thing and your inventory, and it is more just kind of about cracking on, and you can even like buy ammo from the vendor and stuff like that. So it really is. It's more actually in that sense that you're not backtracking trying to get ammo all the time. You can just kind of crack on with the story, which is quite nice. The settings really cool. I've done the village, and I've done the first little area that you go to, which is the castle. Very gothic style, and the graphics and the engine that game uses, the detail it has is just amazing. The lighting is phenomenal. It does weirdly. I loaded it up and started it, and it didn't give me any options for like any modes that I want to play it on, as in like 4K or frame rate mode or anything like that. But it does have ray tracing turned off on default, which is a bit strange. So obviously I turned ray tracing straight on because I thought, why wouldn't you? It doesn't say that it affects anything negatively. So I was like, I'm guessing that's maybe because it's Xbox and it's one edition, obviously. So it would be turned off by default for like last gen. That's the only reason I could think it would be.
Unless that's the options, instead of having a frame rate or a resolution mode, you got a ray tracing mode or not a ray tracing mode.
It doesn't say that it's like detrimenting anything, which is the weird thing. So that's what I assumed as well. Maybe it doesn't give you that information. I don't know. Maybe if you Google
is there
it,
a console level preference on the Xbox? I think there is. No, there is on PlayStation for sure. So
I'm not sure. It just asks.
It
default to that. The update.
Yeah, because sometimes on I know on PlayStation, which is, I can't believe I'm using PlayStation example. Like there's a menu on the like the overall console, and it's like when these are the options, these are the defaults. And so if some games won't ask, because it will just default to your defaults. So if my default for me obviously is HDR, not 4K, so it'll always default to that. and then I think you can even choose a performance resolution or performance RT. I think on the PS5, like HUD. People will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. So the Xbox probably has
I know
that.
there's different changes. I know Digital Foundry did videos on like it. I just don't know what the difference, and it's not telling you what the difference is.
Yeah, you clearly can't have noticed too much of a frame rate problem. To be fair,
no, I don't think it was
super
frame rate.
smooth.
I think it was resolution. Like it's native 4K, like 60, and now it's 1080p 60. But you've got ray tracing on.
Yeah.
I don't think 4K is that impressive, to be honest.
No, it looks beautiful either way. Which is, that's all you want, isn't it?
Oh hell yeah.
But yeah, that is pretty much it for me. So I will just be carrying on with more Resident Evil Village over the next couple of weeks or so.
You have like another 4 pickups, Craig, but you can save them for another day.
Yes, yeah. For the sake of the length of the video.
When you eventually play them, you can crack them out like they're new games.
That's going to be the backlog 2022 challenge video.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of that. Right then, Pengy. Are you ready? Are you ready to let loose on the 600 games and consoles you've bought this month?
Not actually that much, because really the past 2 weeks, even though I was off last week, it was E3. Obviously we talked about E3, where I watched even more E3 after the episode because I watched all the Treehouse and something else. I think I've watched something else afterwards as well.
So what was the final tally then? Because you said it was like nearly 15 hours before. It must have been nearly 20 at the end.
Well, we were recording the podcast while the Treehouse was going. I think Treehouse was another 3 hours after that, and then I watched something else, and I can't even remember what the other thing I watched was. It couldn't have been that great. Oh, it was the Xbox Showcase that was on Thursday, wasn't it? Gone. So yeah, so obviously watched all of them. So the week I was off, I didn't play that much. And then this sort of week, the weekend just gone and that, all I've played and I've gone back to is Monster Hunter Rise, another Capcom game, also in the RE engine. So I've gone back to that. I've put in another 10 hours onto Monster Hunter Rise. Really good. I've been playing through the single player because of the quests are done like they were in the previous ones before, whereas you got single player quests and multiplayer quests. So I've gone through all the single player quests and started the multiplayer ones. I'm only on the 3 star ones for multiplayer at the moment, but obviously I've been just playing with randoms, mainly Japanese players by their names and that. But yeah, jumping on there, doing some hunts and that, and I'm really enjoying that.
Is it a better game playing with people than on your own? Because I always found that with World is much more fun, even playing with randoms and just kind of trying to sort it out on your own.
It's been pretty fun. Like I said, obviously going it through the single player, you obviously get a bit of a story and grinding for some armor and stuff like that. That and my sword and bits for my Palico and Palamute and all that, and then going into the multiplayer. And the multiplayer, even though it levels up, so if you're doing it just by yourself, which you can do, or there's 2 of you, or there's 4 of you, it does level that has been sort of fairly easy so far, because obviously I was doing level 6 single player quests with my armor, and now doing level 3 multiplayer. So obviously when I get to the level 7 Nawa, I think is the big sort of boss, where they added story content into the multiplayer and stuff like that. That obviously might be a challenge, but get better armor, better weapons and stuff like that. And by them, really good. And then I've got a couple of pickups from nothing from last week. I didn't buy anything last week. I think I've gone a couple of weeks without anything, and then I've got 3 pickups right here. So, and they're kind of weird pickups as well. The first one is Silent Hill: The Experience on PSP UMD. So this is obviously a Silent Hill compilation. It is not the movie, it's a trailer for the movie, and it's also turns the graphic novel into a movie, and made one also for this. Has a MIDI music videos, and it's also got it has the weird dog ending from Silent Hill 2 and stuff like that on here as well. So it's a weird one. So it's not a game and it's not really a proper UMD because it's not a film. Either it's this like weird mishmash one. Things like
Doesn't sound like it's anything, to be honest with you, Chris.
Sounds like a waste of money. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, it's like the graphic novel obviously could be interesting, and they made one just for this as well. So that's the only way to get that is on this. Obviously, if you're a big Silent Hill fan and you wanted that in your like collection or something, that it would be the only way to get it. And obviously, there is a lot of Silent Hill fans out there. Plus, I paid a fiver for this, and that might sound like a lot. It's 30 quid on eBay, so it would be 25 quid. In the bank if I wanted to sell it, but it is in my PSP collection.
Okay then.
Yep, and I'm kind of sticking on the same theme here, and you might, because obviously you guys seen a picture of my Blu-rays and my 4K films and stuff, and sort of sticking on the same theme. This came out on Monday, and that is Final Fantasy VII Advent Children in 4K. So there's a 4K remaster of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which obviously is like not canon now.
How much did you pay for that?
20 quid.
Because you know the Blu-ray version, which is absolutely fine, is like £1.50 at this
Yeah,
point.
I just sold my Blu-ray version on eBay, but I now have this on 4K, which has got the Blu-ray and the 4K version of it.
How many times have you watched that Blu-ray, Chris?
I watched my Blu-ray once.
Are you going to go back for another 4K viewing?
Yeah, I sort of watched it in 4K, in glorious, remastered in 4K.
Oh dear.
So Square is remastering.
I think it is
Now
still
they just-
I think it is still canon, by the way.
Sort of.
Yeah,
Well,
it is. Remakes a sequel. We've discussed this before.
Yeah. Now they just need to do Spirits with in 4K and everything.
No, they don't.
Hey, you know, I'll buy
I
it.
hope the third one's good here, Penky, because you really are.
And the
We've had a
third
trailer so far and a film. So
And a film you've already watched.
Yeah.
So the third one came yesterday morning, and I paid 20 quid for this. I have not opened it, so I have not played it yet, and I don't know if I will. And that is the Mario Bros. Anniversary Game & Watch.
You will not play it.
Yeah. So I picked that up for 20 quid. So
It's funny that because they stopped selling them like 3 months ago, and it's such tat that even Nintendo fans haven't sold out of them yet.
Yeah.
That's how tat it is. Like
that was 50 quid RRP, and it's now
like
down
for
to
the
20.
record, this is going to kill my thing here. Those two pieces of tat I'm using as a mic stand. I think they're worth about £400 now, something stupid combined. Because they were 50 quid that got sold out in like 10 seconds. The thing you bought, I see on Argos, like normal websites for like 35 quid.
Yeah, who's Curry's reduced it to 25 and then had a £5 voucher off, so it's down to 20, sort of thing. But like you say, it is Nintendo's, so even in maybe not now, but 20, 30 years time,
It could be worth £2. Yeah.
We'll be long dead by then, so I wouldn't worry about it.
So that was £45 of a hat.
Really.
People who basically watch this throughout the year will be like, Chris could have bought about 5 PS5s by now and
He
could
really
be a happy boy.
Genuinely
But the
could have.
amount of tat he's bought instead is just incredible.
So I have my Game & Watch. Yeah, because I have my Zelda one pre-order, so I have both Game & Watches. So,
I hope that brings you some joy, Pengy.
and, a good film in Advent Children.
There's a debate. So was that everything, Chris?
Yep, that's everything.
That's bloody marvellous, that is. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Take a sigh. So, to be a change, I haven't bought anything. I haven't bought anything at all the last couple of weeks. I've been a good boy. Mostly because I've been watching and / playing so much football that I haven't had time to spend my money on the video games. And I've got a very extensive backlog. So, anyway. So I'm going to be the artsy, professional journalist amongst us now. So I've been playing a couple of things post E3. First of all, I played the Tunic demo on Xbox's ID Xbox like E3 demo thing they do every year. Really liked it. I really did. It's beautiful. It very much is a classic Zelda game. Everyone's sort of comparing it to Dark Souls, and I kind of get why, but it really is more like a classic Zelda game than it is like Dark Souls. It's just that if you die, you can pick up your money. That's basically the Dark Souls element of it, to be honest with you. It's very satisfying to progress. It's got little like fox checkpoints throughout the game. It kind of points you in directions, but you can kind of do what you want, which I found quite enjoyable. Very simple combat, but it was quite challenging, so you have to kind of like time your attacks especially because you need to get better weapons as you go. So you start off with a stick, and then you get a sword and shield and all that Zelda-y stuff. And the puzzles were very classic Zelda, very simple. Do a thing in a dungeon, do this, do that, smash pots, get keys. It really is just a like really chill Zelda game. The music's like super chill, super indie, super like lo-fi. And overall, I thought it was pretty fun. I'm looking forward to that coming to Xbox at some point. I know it's been shown, demoed for like 5 years now, but I think it's pretty promising.
Is that a straight to Game Pass one, or is that?
I don't even know. I think it is, but like, who knows?
It's hard to keep up with the ID stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
I would
unsure
imagine
now.
it. I would imagine it will be. If it isn't now, it will be. I think it's easy money. And on the other end of the spectrum, I played Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. I've got a full page here, boys. So I'm going to read my notes which I made as I was playing. So my first note: demo performance poor, terrible frame rate, and ugly as sin. Worst PS5 experience I've had so far. So for context, with that first note, is so I'm playing on a PS5. It's a PS5 demo. I don't have 4K, but the resolution difference is literally the UI anyway. The game runs the same no matter what mode it's in. I don't know why they bothered giving you an option in the demo, and it chugs like a motherfucker, boys. I dropped to 30, dropped to like 20 at some points. It's just, considering how ugly it is, it's surprising to me that the PS5 cannot handle it at all. So that is a very badly optimized game. As for its art style, I don't know. It's really hard because like it kind of suits what they're going for, but it's just like so low quality. Like the model quality is just not very good. The texture quality is just not very good. And I get it's at least a year out, but why are they showing it if it's in that kind of state? So
Yeah, because it says demo. Like if they said it was like a technical alpha or something,
it's literally
like,
a trial. That's what it is. It's a
Yeah.
trial, and then you get a survey afterwards. What else have I got here? Generic, bland world and enemy design. So me and Chris have played a lot of Final Fantasy, and even though they're Final Fantasy enemies, they're just dark. It's like if Final Fantasy was made on the Unreal Engine. It's Final Fantasy Gears of War in turn. Like that's the best way of describing it. But Gears of War came out in 2006. It's 2021. We move on. So to a positive, Craig. Combat feels good. Parry and job systems have a lot of gameplay potential, especially switching between them. So you can kind of like, you have like different warrior classes, you get warrior, mage, all that kind of stuff, and you can switch on the fly. So you can kind of do some sort of neat combos, and it's pretty fun. The combat it's Tecmo Koei and Team Ninja. Oh, my brain just went then, and it feels pretty satisfying to like hit shit. Like
what game would you compare the combat most to?
So the obvious answer is Dark Souls, but it's not really. It's kind of the game I would compare it the most to is Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of that with a bit more of a combo-y system, because you can kind of every time you parry, you get like a super meter, and you can kind of unleash it into like a big move, which is kind of cool. And there's lots of different moves you can do. So even in the demo, there was a lot to choose from, which was pretty cool. Skill trees were really fun. There was a skill tree for every class, so you can go different which ways. You can buff certain things, and the different attacks you get were actually pretty cool. So that was a positive. Loot system was fine, but it was very loot drop heavy. So like you were getting like loot drops like every enemy, so you were constantly going into menus and switching out Greatsword level 1 for Greatsword level 4 and stuff like that. So and it right now, like the weapons all feel the same, just the numbers bigger. So in the main game, if there's like specific weapon drops, that'd probably be pretty cool. Okay, so here's the character design. So Jack and Ash, which is the main blonde dude and the black guy, were okay. They don't fit in the same game. But Jed, the pink-haired character, is unbearable. He's awful. The voice actor is just terrible. Just terrible.
How did they get to the name Jed as well?
Especially because you've got Jack, Ash, and Jed. And they all
sounds
three
like
of
the
them,
worst boy band ever.
and all three of them look like they're from different games. The one positive of them is that they stick with you while you play. So it's actually kind of cool to play like a Soulsy game with a party. Because I think the problem with a lot of those games is that you can feel kind of isolated just running around in a circle getting your shit pushed in. So I quite liked it. The Chaos ? Because it's not actually Chaos, it's Garland. Boss fight was pretty fun. Again, pretty spongy, but it was a good spectacle. It was probably the best looking part of the game, if I'm honest. I played the game on normal. Yeah, there is an easy mode and a hard mode, which I like because those type of games are better when you have different difficulties, in my opinion. Like, if you're a more casual player, I reckon the easy mode would be very easy. Like, the easy mode would basically be like Hyrule Warriors at this point. So for someone like Chris that just wants to mash through the story, I think he'd probably quite enjoy playing that kind of game on easy mode. And weirdly, if I was gonna buy a Souls game, which is a big caveat, I probably would be quite tempted to get this one because it's a Final Fantasy game and it has that kind of world setting, but it is a long way from polished. Like, a long way from polished. So I was that is my quick written review of Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. Very strange demo. Very strange for them to put it out this far in advance.
Awful name as well.
Very bad name. Yeah, very bad name.
Terrible.
If they'd flipped the names, it would have been better. I don't know why they've led with Stranger of Paradise. They should have just been Final Fantasy Origins or Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise. Just something. If they're going to have the Final Fantasy, like, put that front and center. So we'll be interested. Well, very interested to see how that game does, because it's very. I don't know who it's appealing to be honest with you. Other than that, all I've really played, I played quite a lot of Mario Kart because, like you do, and I've been plodding along with Mass Effect 2, which I'm quite enjoying still. I am doing literally everything, so I think I'm like 10-15 hours in, and I have done like 2 story missions. I'm just trying to get all the characters and all the loyalty missions and stuff. So that game will get beaten eventually because it's just a good. I pop it on when I'm watching the football, so it's a great game, and I highly recommend it to all those that haven't played it. Oh God, my breath. So that is the basic roundup of everything we've been playing. So we're gonna do our sort of half year in review. We're gonna start with the Fantasy Critic. So let's pull that up on screen now. There we go. Look at that. The magic of technology. So we're here at the halfway-ish point. So the halfway-ish point. Chris Pengelly is on 46 points. Craig is on 81, and I am on, I think, 12. Yeah, I'm on 12. So you can see your scores on the screen. You're happy to go to the URL and look in a bit more detail. So really, the only sort of analysis I can have of this really is that the one big miss so far has been Craig, weirdly, with the Biomutant. But again, it was only 3 points. And obviously, Pokemon Snap doing better than you thought for Craig was downside, but I don't think that's going to affect him. Chris going It Takes Two for a counter pick has killed him.
Mm-hmm.
As has him.
That was devastating.
Picking 3 games that he can't drop that have been pushed to next year.
Yeah. These are a good team for next year. Wait, that's not how it works.
No, it's not. So really for Chris, like, he needs everything to come out now and he needs everything to be good.
Yeah.
Because I look at Craig's list and I don't see... I mean, Hollow Knight Silksong probably won't come out, but you should be able to drop that.
Yeah, I'm basically just waiting for them to basically say it's not coming officially, and then that would be droppable.
Yeah, and other than that, like, I think Crossfire X either is not going to come out or it's going to be crap, and Dark Tide will probably review badly. But other than that...
You reckon?
Yeah,
Dark Tide review badly?
Yeah, I think it'll review badly because it's Xbox exclusive, and there's lots
Bear
of
in mind it's the same
games.
Team that made Vermintide, and that's
Yeah,
like
I would
83.
agree with you, but I just feel like all of these similar Left 4 Dead games are going to slowly review, like, collide with each other.
That's not one that I would say is like I'd be worried about. I'm more worried about, like you say, Crossfire X, because we didn't see that at all, which makes you think that could actually just slip away.
I've always worried with that for you is the single player is DLC, and the review's always gonna be based on the multiplayer. And I played the multiplayer beta, and it was not good. So that's
it's
why
a bit of a jumble still. And also the Artful Escape as well didn't get shown at all.
That's not coming. I don't think that's going to come
Yeah, I'm starting to think that probably will slip as well. So that could be a do not release there for that one.
Mm.
And of course, for you, if Halo Infinite comes out and is very good, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Whereas mine is purely, if stuff comes out, I'll do fine. If it doesn't come out, I'm done. Basically, like Chris at this point.
Mm.
I think Final Fantasy 16 is going to get pushed.
Yeah, definitely.
And I wouldn't be
Stray
surprised
as well. I think because of that, we've not seen.
We've
any
not
of
seen it,
that.
but it's an indie game, so they could just drop it on like a Tuesday. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think Horizon could also get pushed.
Yeah,
as could definitely.
But you'd be able to drop that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would.
Stray will get dated most really soon. There's an Annapurna Direct thing at some point. They did announce it during, I think it was Summer Game Fest, but Annapurna are doing their own sort of like direct with their games. So I think if Stray's going to get dated, it's going to be there when Annapurna do their direct.
Hopefully.
Whenever that is.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think it was August. I feel that it was August, but without Googling.
Or other search engines, if you wish.
Yes.
Ask Jeeves. So that's the Fancy Critic. We'll check back in. I think we've got 2 games coming out before the next podcast, so we'll see how that shakes things up. Hopefully that takes me above Chris, because Mario Golf's going to get a perfect 100, which is what we want.
To be fair, you could have, because you've got 2 of the next 3 games to come out, because you have Monster Hunter Stories 2 as well, don't you?
I do, which I think is going to review really well.
Yeah, definitely. So you could overtake him for a bit.
And then Chris just... I remember the first we did this, it's a crime if Chris doesn't win. If he comes last, oh dear.
I'm assuming he gets first pick next year if he comes last, though. So
we'll see.
Yeah.
I suppose if Simon does it, then maybe you'd have to get second.
Yeah.
Simon...
As a new team in the MLS, Simon would get the first pick.
Yeah, he'd get first pick.
But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, boys. So, half of the year's gone. Somehow we're almost at 2022. Oh God! So I thought we're just going to go through the games.
Almost time for the World Cup.
Almost time for the World Cup. Another tournament for us to fail at. So I thought I'd go through the kind of games we've all played, and that's really how we think the year's gone so far. So we're not going to stick strictly to stuff that's come out this year, because I think other than Chris, I don't think maybe Craig actually played quite a lot of Game Pass stuff. But it's really I just kind of want your highlights and lowlights. I don't want every single game, because I don't want to sit here for an hour while Chris tells me about every 10-minute demo he's played.
Foxyland 2.
Foxyland 2 game of the year. So obviously for Chris, as always, it's been a mainly achievement whore year. If you're gonna cut his games into percentage of stuff he's played, it is mostly achievement whory. But that's what he wants to spend his money on. That and UMDs he doesn't need.
Yeah, you always need UMDs.
You always need. So we're going to do this in reverse order. I'm going to go first, so then I can let my mouth not talk for 10 minutes. It's going to be great. Yeah, so the highlights for games I've played this year, the biggest highlight for me would be Dirt 5, probably, because I've played that game 3 times now, and I love every second of it. It's probably the best game I've played this year. This year has been very much a backlog year for me. I think looking at this list, I think the only thing I've played that's come out this year is Mass Effect 1's remaster. Was Hivebusters before Christmas? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was December.
Yeah, so the only new game that I've played this year is Mass Effect 1's remaster. That's the only new one I've played. I'm not counting the 20 minutes of Judgment I've played, because that also came out last year.
So it's Knockout City, the one that you...
Yeah, I suppose so. That's a couple hours, right? But again,
it's you got your PS5 this year, so Astro.
I haven't. Yeah, it's true. So I've played games from last year. I've played more games. I've got a list, Chris. Don't worry, of games I played last year, from last year. But I haven't actually bought. I haven't bought any PS5 games this year. And that's going to very quickly go into my low light. Actually, my low light is the PS5, because it just has not justified its purchase for me yet. I haven't bought Ratchet and Clank. That would probably be the best game I will play this year if I'd bought it. I'm not in a position to spend £70 on it because of my teeth, which is really what's killed that purchase. I bought it and then £800 worth of teeth. It very quickly pushes you back to Game Pass. But my problem with PlayStation so far is it's just the PS5 doesn't really have a reason to get it. Really, it really doesn't have a it's necessary to buy a PS5. If you have a PS4 Pro that's in good condition, you're more than covered, I think, for the next 12 months at least. So in that regard, I think that's my main lowlight is the PS5. not saying it's a bad console at all. I'm from what use I've had of it, it's great, but it is really just a super glorified PS4 with like I've got like 2 games pretty much that are PS5 games, and even then they're both on PS4. So there we go. I think Astro is the only exclusive. I think is the only exclusive I've actually played, which is a great game. Which was a great game. So that's my quick highlight and lowlight. We'll go around. We'll do like 3 highlight lowlights each, just because it's easy to let people think. So Pengy, highlight, lowlight.
Highlight. It's a semi-new game, and like the best game I have really played this year is Nier Replicant. Like if we're giving out awards for what was the best remaster or remake, Dave's gonna go Mass Effect. 1. Prey, you're gonna go Judgment, I guess, or something like that. Like I'll go Nier Replicant. It was like really good. Like how often do I play a game 5 times? I know it. They get shorter every time, and for like 40 hours. I don't like most of my. If you did like what I finished, the average like 6 hours long. So I think that shows how good the game is. That I've stuck with it for all that time, and like the combat and the music, everything. And it does look a bit ropey, but then that's it's a PS3 game remastered. And you do so much with that. But yeah, that's pretty good. But thing
It's criminal. After you just said that, Pengy, that you haven't played Automata yet, because obviously I haven't played Replicant, and part of the reason I haven't played Replicant is it looks like it just kind of does stuff a little bit worse than Automata. So for me, going back to it at this point might be difficult. But after everything you've just said, Automata looking like it does everything a little bit better. It's criminal that you haven't just gone back and played that yet.
Yeah, sure. Lowlight for me, trying to think of a lowlight.
Is it your own wastes of money? I mean, I know your lowlight. Your lowlight is Japanese RPGs on the Switch.
That's not a lowlight.
Because you've bought 2. You've bought how many of them, and how many minutes of all of them have you played?
Yeah, I guess good point.
I'm not even trolling. Like what have you bought? So you bought Atelier 2.
Yeah.
You bought Bravely Default 2. And World's End Club.
Yeah, which actually turns out to be more of a 2D platformer.
And the combined minutes of those 3 games is a couple hours tops?
Yeah, I think Atelier's 5. No, Bravely might be 5. Atelier 2 and an hour.
Whenever I looked on your Switch thing, it wasn't a lot. Put it that way.
Atelier, I think Bravely is the longest. They did the prologue and half of Chapter 1.
Do any of them remain in your collection, or have they all been sold so far?
No, Atelier Riser and World's End Club are still in my collection.
There's still hope.
Yeah.
Only
still
a glimmer.
hope for.
Was the World's End Club particularly bad then? Because I don't think you've talked about that on the podcast.
You haven't.
I did first as the first chapter starts off like a Danganronpa game, but with 2D platform elements, so trying to solve the case of who killed so and so, and that sort of thing. A bit like a weird Among Us type deal, but obviously story driven. So you do that, and it's like over quite quickly in like the first sort of like prologue chapter and that, and then it opens up into. I think it's Tokyo, but I'm not 100% sure. We were heading to Tokyo. It opens up into basically a normal 2D platformer, and everything that's like the Danganronpa stuff on it, and it is from like the co-creators of Danganronpa, and the other like co-creators did like Virtual Slash Reward and stuff like that. I've done all like these visual novel games, and that's kind of how the game's like was advertised as well. And that is the first chapter, and then it's got like this bait and switch. It's like, yeah, it's a 2D platformer. Like what? And sort of thing. And then obviously I'm playing on the Switch where you got your Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freezers and stuff like that. And it's like, this is not a great 2D platformer. But it could also have the bait and switch, like you get to chapter 6 and it's suddenly a murder mystery again, sort of thing. So who knows?
So no, you don't like it. It's the answer, basically. That's what we.
And we'll never find out. Yeah, we'll never find out.
I saw it reviewed really badly. I was quite surprised by that. I saw it was, I think it was even in the 50s on OpenCritic.
Looks much more style over substance. So like I remember the showing the trailer and us being like, "Oh, it looks quite pretty," and then like no one's talked about it since. So
yeah.
Okay then, Pengy, we'll come back around to you in a bit. So Craig, I probably know what your highlight is, but what is your highlight and what's your low light?
I refuse to give lowlights. That is negativity. I am not seeping to that level.
You could have just said PlayStation and then just left it.
I guess one of the things for me is similar to you, Dave. There's not been a lot of big AAA games coming out this year, but that is good because it has meant I've gone back and played quite a lot of like Game Pass backlog games. And the ones that I've played have been amazing. So I played, probably the big ones would be like Jedi Falling Order, Resident Evil 7, and Nier Automata. Like those are three like amazing games. I think 2 of them were on my top 25 list when we did that. Like, to get a chance to get back and play those games on Game Pass, because there's not been much coming out, and having that time has been really cool. And you know, if there had been lots of stuff coming out, if Far Cry or whatever else had come out, I wouldn't have had a chance to get back and play that. So that's been a big positive, definitely. So yeah, that'd probably be the first one for me.
Nice and concise. I mean, overall, it's just Game Pass for you, right? That's the highlight of the year, of every year for Craig, is Xbox Game Pass, because it just keeps getting better. So I suppose the way to rephrase this sort of second round of stuff is we'll do this. I'm going to think on the fly. So what would you say is your game of the year that you've played so far this year? Well, there is a separate game of the year so far, which is the next bit. If that makes sense to you. So what is the best game you've played this year overall? So for me, looking at my list, because I'll only look at the games I've actually finished, so it's a short list. Don't worry, Craig. Chris's is just going to be Foxyland 2. I can't wait. So other than Dirt 5, which I did thoroughly enjoy, I would say probably my game of the year in terms of like that I've played this year is probably Astro's Playroom. Weirdly, because I somewhat enjoyed Valhalla, but it didn't leave much of an imprint on me, really, which is strange. Like I whenever I finish an open world game, I tend to quite like it, because I don't like open world. So for me to push through, like, so, you know, the meme of sleeping dogs and stuff, like I finished it like 3 times. I love it. Like, it's great. But Valhalla, like, there's a couple of moments, really big moments in that game, which I won't spoil for Craig, which are really cool. But other than that, like, it didn't really leave too much of an impression. The ending isn't particularly impressive. And the set pieces are kind of the same throughout, but Astro's Playroom I thoroughly enjoyed, because it's probably the most nostalgic thing that PlayStation have ever done. Like, even if you're a bit of a lapsed PlayStation fan, I think even like Craig, for example, who's the anti-PlayStation, were to play that, there would be at least some level where you would go, "Oh, yeah, I really remember the PS2 iToy or something." You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of thing where it really plays on your nostalgia, and I think platform-wise it's great. It's just a shame that it's a short like tech demo, really. Like, it's only about 3 hours to platinum it. But I think overall, for like pure quality of game that I've played this year, I think Astro's Playroom has been the most enjoyable experience, and it is the best PS5 experience I've had so far. So, which is troubling, because that was obviously the built-in game. But yeah, I think Astro's Playroom.
That's like, obviously we're going through our like list and that. I saw, I think it was Gaming Bolt or something like that, did like their top 12 games of the year, and it has like quite a few like PlayStation games in it. It's got obviously Ratchet, Returnal, Guilty Gear, and stuff like that, which obviously I've not played. You've not played, because obviously rather expensive, especially two of them, sort of thing. So it's like some like better games this year, like we've not played, possibly. So
it's also just appeal to us, you know, like Returnal. Like, you say, like
Returnal doesn't appeal to any of us, but like Ratchet and Clank, for instance, and definitely.
Yeah, and I think this is the year that the price of games is become more apparent. Now, I see the discourse on Twitter a lot of the times, you know, where you pay for quality, but it's so difficult when you're in the Xbox ecosystem, because you just the value of that pound is just so different. And it doesn't make, like, if you're just a PlayStation player, it will never make sense to you, because you don't have any way to like experience that, if that makes sense. Like, there's no quantifiable way, if I just played on PlayStation, that I could really appreciate how good Game Pass is, because you're not in, like, when you're already in on Game Pass and you see the amount of games that keep coming. Like, so I've bought 2 games this year for PlayStation that I've listed on eBay because one has just come to Game Pass and the other one is going to come to Game Pass in the next like month. And I'm like, well, I'd rather pocket the 50-60 pounds I could get for these two games now and just you know, they're in my backlog anyway, so I'll just keep pushing them to Game Pass. And Craig knows those games already; he's already figured that out. But it is like, it's so difficult if you're someone who owns both ecosystems, which I always think that me and Chris have always thought is like the way to go. I genuinely think this time around it's very difficult, certainly so far, to have both ecosystems, because there just isn't a reason beyond 2 games to buy anything on PlayStation. Because if it's on Xbox, it's either A, on Game Pass, or B, crossplay anyway. And if you're already on your Xbox playing games, you might as well just buy them. Like, you know what I mean? And a lot of times games run better on Xbox and have the easier upgrade path. Every time the upgrade path is just easier on Xbox. There is some cool stuff on PlayStation that I do have in my backlog. I'm actually planning to do a backlog video, maybe even this weekend, specifically about PlayStation, because it's such an interesting backlog because I have so much of it physically. So stuff like Intergrade for Final Fantasy, like when I finished that
was also on their top like 12 list.
Yeah, and I've seen
really.
I've seen the enhanced ending because when I loaded my save, I loaded the last level.
That's where Remake 2 is gonna continue from. So.
It's great stuff. Chris will just watch that on YouTube because it's not worth buying a PS5 for. But I'm being serious. Like it's not. So yeah, that's kind of the difficult thing, I think, especially, and again, like Returnal, that's never looking like a £70 game to me. Even Ratchet and Clank, and I know it'll be very high quality. It'll be one of the best games. It's probably the best game that's come out this year. I think review wise,
it's the highest rated.
Yeah, it's the
highest
best
rated game for the year.
It's come out.
No, it's like a random indie game, isn't it? That Chicory game's the highest.
Yeah, Chicory's the number one.
I have
none of us has
heard of that.
No, none of us had it for a fancy.
It dropped. I've never heard of it, and it dropped during Summer Game. Shuhei Yoshida was like, I'm going to show you this game. Showed Chicory, and it's like, oh, it's out now, and it's the highest rated game for the year.
It's like 90.
Yep.
I'll look into that. But the point is, like,
it means you got to turn your PS5 on, Dave.
No. My PS5's on right now, Chris. I think you're just being facetious. It's a great Blu-ray player. Apart from the fact it doesn't have an iPlayer app, because guess what, Craig? Doesn't have the PS4 apps. It has specific PS5 apps. So there isn't an iPlayer app. There isn't a what's the other one that I use? ITV app. There isn't a Channel 4 app. I don't think there's a WWE app either. I might be wrong. So it's got Disney Plus though.
All you need is Disney Plus
and YouTube. But yeah, that was the rambling point I had about Game Pass. So Craig, what is the best game you've played this year? I kind of think I know the answer. Yeah, I think I know the answer. But what is the best game you've played this year so far?
So are we going for something that's not come out this year?
So this doesn't have to have come out this year.
Anything.
And then the next round is games that came out this year.
Oh, okay. So for stuff that
it can be the same game if that's not a problem.
It's probably
going to read the best game.
Yeah. Obviously, I played the 3 like mentioned before, and then obviously Judgment. I wouldn't count it as coming out this year because it's just basically kind of a.
See, on Xbox, that's weird because on Xbox it really is this year because it wasn't on Xbox One. It's weird. And then the sequel is.
Yeah, I would say that's an old game that's just kind of finally came over, if you know what I mean. You seem like Dragon Quest when that finally came over at Octopath. You wouldn't say that Octopath came out
that's
this
fair.
year.
And to be fair, you'll have the opportunity to add the sequel to your list by the end of the year.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. So that was another good one that I played. Oxenfree was another good one that I played that didn't come out this year, which is a bit of a surprise because I enjoyed that as much as I did. But in terms of probably the best game out of the ones that I've mentioned, I'd probably say Nier Automata. That was the one that was highest on my top 25 list. I said, look, that was number 10, I believe. Which is a bit of a surprise. It just pipped Resident Evil 7. I think that was 11, or it might have been 9 and 10. It was something like that. But 2 phenomenal games. But yeah, Nier Automata was probably the best game that I've played. It was amazing. I've talked about it before loads on the podcast when I was actually playing it. But yeah, definitely one that I'd recommend. And yeah, the fact that you two haven't played that is just criminal. I keep saying it until you actually both play it.
It's very fun. It's a funny game because it's obviously the most. It's not a game you'd ever associate with you prior to Game Pass. It's really why you're the advert for Game Pass, Craig. Really, if we're honest with ourselves, it's when you play Dragon Quest, I'll be very impressed. Or Yakuza Like a Dragon, which there's hope because that's in English.
Yeah, and it's now on Game Pass.
It's now officially, and that's why my copy is just sold for £25 on PlayStation. So I only paid £16 for it. It's not bad at all. So, the big dog, Tell us about Ratalaika. What is the best game you've played this year?
The best game I played this year. See, the best game I played this year, because it's like, if you're going by like, it was in my top 25, very high on my top 25, and obviously I replayed for like the fourth or fifth time Journey this year, because when I had a little bit spell, when I was playing some PS3 stuff, that sort of thing. I guess if I went like best game like played
You've
this year
not played before, maybe.
I
but you're there.
haven't played before.
This is tough for Chris because he's played every game when it comes out.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, when
Like,
I've not
literally.
played. Ooh. I guess I played Infamous Festival of the Blood first time this year, which came out quite a long time
If
ago.
I had a straw, I'd clutch it, Chris. I really would.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that came out. Yeah, it actually was it was an enjoyable couple of hours going around in like Vampire, New Orleans, and stuff with your like superpowers. It is a fun time. But like, oh, Infamous, like, if that came back, I would be excited for a new Infamous on PS5. But
Nice.
don't think we get that. I think we get Ghost of Tsushima
Yeah,
too.
I think you're more likely to get Sly Cooper than you are to get
Yeah.
Infamous at this point. Cool. And as for games that came out this year, my favorite game that came out this year is by pretty much default is Mass Effect 1's remaster. It's a beautiful update of one of my favorite games of all time. So it's really just that on Knockout City, and so I'm an EA stan this year. Love EA. Can't wait for EA Play. Everyone keeps going on about Dead Space, and they're all going to be very disappointed when it's not Dead Space, aren't they? So, Craigo, best game that's come out this year so far.
So all the ones that I've played that have come out this year, other than the two that I mentioned at the start of Little Nightmares 2 and Resident Evil, which I've obviously not finished yet, everything else that I've played that's come out this year, I believe, has been Game Pass.
I would be shocked if that's not true.
Yeah. So it's stuff like The Medium, it's stuff like Genesis Noir, it's Narita Boy, The Wild at Heart would be another one. So there's a lot of kind of Game Pass indies, a lot of kind of really good Game Pass indies, actually. All very solid games. My favorite out of like that bunch, I would probably say is The Medium, just because it had the story I really liked, and I thought the story was very brave in what it did. And it was a beautiful looking game as well. I know the gameplay wasn't that interesting, or it's a lot of just walking around interacting with things, but I think the story and the art style it had kind of carried that game. So yeah, it'd probably be my favorite out of the ones that I've played this year that come to Game Pass.
Yeah, and obviously it was a game that perhaps didn't get as much love as it should have.
Yeah, it's probably, I think it's out of all the ones I just listed, it's the one that probably has the lowest open critic score, but yeah.
I'm sure that'll get bumped when it comes to PlayStation in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose, like I said, like we've said many times, like Craig really is the advert for Game Pass, because
a lot of Game Pass indies this year, definitely.
Yeah, and it's broken up a quite droughty year for AAA, if I'm honest. So it's been good to get these kind of
it
games.
has been sort of quiet for AAA, because I was talking Andy on the G-Namer podcast. He thinks like July is not a great month. I thought it was like July outgoing month. It looks pretty good. And he's like, there's not been any like big Western game this year. Like obviously your Valhallas and stuff like that. I know they normally come in like the fall, but last year this time I think we might have had Ghost of Tsushima by now and stuff like that. It's been
they've all been delayed, haven't they? It's like Far Cry was delayed.
It's basically this year so far has been indies or Japanese stuff. Basically, they are the ones that I think has been getting their games out. I think end of the year we will obviously see, your Far Cry 6s and stuff like that, all those sort of things. It's a different conversation, I guess, at the end of the year. But so far, I mentioned it at the start of the podcast. The main game I played this year is Monster Hunter Rise, by quite a lot over. Like my second choice would be like new Pokemon Snap. But yeah, Monster Hunter Rise really good. Like I said, like I've dabbled with the Monster Hunter series, even back from like the PSP and stuff like that. not played much for them. So me, yeah, I know I've only done the single player, but even for like me to do the single player, put in 30 hours so far, I want to go back and play the multiplayer. I want to try to at least get like that ending of Narwa. I think it's Narwa, some Thunder Serpent or something like that. It's like what they added in the 3.0 update, and it's like a new layer armor which is connected to Monster Hunter stories. That I want to unlock and stuff like that. So they keep adding like decent content and things like that, and I can see them going like the Monster Hunter World route instead of the classic Monster Hunter where you used to get like 4 and then you used to get ultimates or whatever. I can see them adding like an Iceborne type expansion as something. Obviously, I doubt it'd be called Ice. See that coming in the future, which are like, oh yeah, I'll be excited to play that and go back for that. But yeah, so that's currently my game of the year.
Nice. And I suppose the last question to sort of round out the podcast is not going to be what we're looking forward to the most this year, because I think we've talked about that many times on this podcast. It's more of, what
you think is going to be game of the year?
No, because I don't want to get into argument about PlayStation today. It's more of sort of what do you think? What kind of random ass backloggy Game Passy game do you think is gonna come up soon? Is there anything you sort of look at lovingly at your shelf or your Game Pass account? You think, I'm going to get to that eventually, because there's been a lot come out, especially on Game Pass recently. A lot of stuff added to Game Pass. Me and Chris have got extensive backlogs. Craig's now got a 4 or 5 game backlog as well, which is great. It's great to really. That's the only way to sort of get Craig a backlog, if we send him ours. So it just gets bigger and bigger. It's great. Any game that we finish, we send it straight to Craig. He's back in. So for me, like, I could sit here and I could probably list like 40 games. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I've got so many fucking video games, boys. I think the biggest backlog game in my collection really is one of two. It's probably Sackboy: The Big Adventure, which is a game I was really looking forward to, and I played like a level. I was like, this is really cool, and then I went back to finishing something else. I think it was Mario U Deluxe. I think that's what I went to finish instead. So I'd like to get to that, and at some point I'd like to play Cyberpunk, because I do own it and it is installed and it does keep getting updates, and I just can't pull the trigger on it. I'm like, is it ready yet? Is it ready to be fun?
At this point, you just about wait until
this is the thing, like
next gen. Although I don't reckon that's coming this year.
No, I don't either.
I reckon that's going to be next year at this point.
Because that's even like, I've been toying with the idea of playing The Witcher, but I'm like, if I might, they've promised me that's this year. So I might as well just wait to get Gwent in 4K. You know what I mean? Like,
I reckon The Witcher will come before Cyberpunk.
I think The Witcher will come soon. I think that'll be there. Like, please don't hate us anymore.
At WitcherCon, I expect.
Which is in a couple of weeks' time, right? So
because they're saying they're going to do. Well, when they did the first roadmap, they said they were going to do free DLC before the next gen update, didn't they?
Yeah, and then they've.
We've not heard anything about free DLCs. I think that next gen update is going to be next year, which will be when I probably try and play that game.
Yeah, ultimately, it's just come back to the PSN, finally. It's been off the PSN for 6 months, which is crazy. Never left the Xbox. It just has a warning every time you try and buy it. I think you'll be able to pick a physical... What's really frustrating with Cyberpunk is not only is it potentially quite a cool game, like the physical edition you get is actually really nice. Like, it's a really nice like GTA style, like big map and all this like stickers and stuff. It's like one of those things that, if you don't buy many physical games, like, it's cool that that's like the base edition. You know what I mean? Like, it's an event then. Like, when you buy a game like that or Red Dead or GTA, it's like an event. You get, we've all remember buying GTA, getting the map out and the big manual and stuff, and reading.
Trying to fold that map back.
It
comes
or
out.
like
Impossible.
when I don't know if you were like, how old were you? Craig would have been like 15 when GTA 4 came out, but I was 18. I was at uni. I had that on my like wall above my 15-inch CRT, so I was playing. This is before the online came out. When the online came out, it was very useful. But I would like play GTA 4's multiplayer. Like, it had like an open world like cops and robbers thing, and I would have it like marked up on my wall, so I knew where there was stuff. Because back in the day, Craig, it was very hard to look at mini maps in standard def, so you used to get the map out. But Cyberpunk has one of those releases. I think The Witcher does as well. Actually, I'm pretty sure.
I think it does.
Yeah, the first like runs of The Witcher is also one of those with like a big map and stuff. One day, Craig. This is just off. How much would you bet? Like, what kind of prize and/or forfeit would I get for finishing The Witcher this year?
It's a shame you didn't put it in your backlog challenge list. That would have been the real ballsy move.
I should really swap it out for one of the 5 Japanese games I've chosen. Right, that's probably.
Yeah, definitely.
If I swap this for Paper Mario, would you allow it? Which is the shortest. It's the shortest game.
I don't know. Gravity Rush 2 is probably the shortest game, isn't it? That's on
No,
the
I
list.
think they're actually about the same price because Gravity Rush 2 is like way longer than Gravity Rush 1. Like Gravity Rush 1 is like 10 hours. I think 2 is about 25
Yeah, I think it is.
because it's got free DLC as well, which I have. So we'll see. Right, we're making it official. Paper Mario, you're gone. You're done.
I'll
Witcher
update my
3.
list.
The Witcher 3 is in. I will finish it this game this year. But yeah, I mean, for me, the CD Projekt games, I think all of the 3 that I own, I'd love to finish because I'm like very close to the end of Witcher 2, and I think that game's really underrated. I've said that before on this podcast that its lack of Gwent is what would stop Craig playing it, but it's a much linear game, which I think is actually much more fun for like a different experience because the story is amazing. All the Witcher stories are so well written and stuff. It's cool. And obviously we're going to get season 2 of the TV show soon, so I think that is what might push old Henry Cavill along. But
It's a shame because it's left Game Pass now, and obviously when that first season of the TV show came out, it went onto Game Pass pretty much the same week,
everyone
and
played
the
it.
spike of it was amazing. Like, you go on, and you have like 9 friends online, and all 9 of them were playing The Witcher 3.
Do you reckon they'll put The Witcher 2 on there? Because it hasn't been on.
Maybe.
It hasn't been on. It's
Yeah.
Xbox exclusive console-wise. It's not on. It's never been on Game Pass.
That would be an interesting move.
Because this is always on sale, by the way. Like you can pick up the Game of the Year edition, which is a separate achievement list, by the way, if you've already finished this. And it's like £7 on all platforms. It's always cheap. So
Unless you're on Switch, but it's still like.
we're gonna get to Chris in the Year of Switch. There's gonna be me and Craig are planning a big Year of the Switch episode at some point soon, probably in the next couple of weeks. So, Craigo, from those parameters, is there anything you think you might stick your teeth into at some point?
So looking at the games that I have left from mine, it's Thronebreaker and Gears Tactics.
So I keep looking at Gears Tactics, and I've got it installed.
Yeah, the problem is
it's very slow.
Everything else keeps coming out and like jumping the queue for me for that one. Again, like you said with the Witcher TV series, if that comes out and I get into that, then that's where Thronebreaker could you suddenly jump up the list maybe. But it might be something that's actually added like sooner. Maybe like I've got Wolfenstein. Is it the Old Blood? The kind of
The Old Blood,
one?
which for you is a 2-day completion.
Yeah,
and
I have
you
that
love every second of
installed.
it.
Any of the Bethesda stuff, in all honesty, something like
Dishonored
Prey.
2, right? Because you only played the first one.
They've put definitely Outsider on as well
Yes, they
now.
have, yeah.
Or even like you could use like a dragon if I wanted to get really out there, just because
I'd
I love
love
Judgment so much.
to watch you play that game.
It looks so silly and fun. So yeah, probably more something like that as opposed to like Gears Tactics, even though that was on my list. But I think they've just added so much more to Game Pass now, but there's more stuff that's kind of appealing to me.
Yeah, and Gears Tactics is so slow. Like I'm personally, I want to get through it because it's the only Gears game I haven't finished. So I want to get through it to have done all the Gears games. If there was a new Gears game coming soon, I think that would probably push me along weirdly, like we did with like Halo when Halo Infinite before Halo Infinite was coming out last year. Me and you plowed through pretty much everything Halo for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So if and when Gears 6 or some sort of collection comes out, I think we'll probably push towards Gears. Gears Tactics is one of those games that every time I've played it, it's fun, but it's a very slow XCOM-like game. So
it's I'm pretty sure it's really long as well.
it is. If you play the jacked mode, it's like 15, 20 hours, I think.
I think it might even be longer than
Because
that.
you've got to kind of grind your squad up, haven't you? Because I might be putting it on my ass. I think you have like a couple of named characters, and then you kind of have to like grind characters. I think.
Yeah, you have like I can't remember what you have. Kate's dad or whatever.
Yeah, you have Gabe Diaz, who looks like Andy Cortez.
On how long to beat? It's 23 and a half for main and 31 for like a normal.
Yeah, so for me and you, that's about 35 hours.
Yeah,
I'd say. No offense, Chris. But will Chris beat The Witcher this year? No, I'm joking. Okay, Craig. So, like I said, and obviously the thing we've got to remember is if we were going to talk about games that we were excited for, it starts hitting big soon with Psychonauts 2. And, the Sea of Thieves update that's just landed. Me and Amanda, I think, probably going to play it in co-op. There's enough space for at least Craig to come in. Whether Chris can be bothered at this point, I don't know. But like that Pirates of the Caribbean campaign, I want to play through, and it's like little bits like that. And Craig is right; it very quickly becomes a spiral.
When does that land?
It's out now. It came out yesterday.
It's out, yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we've downloaded it ready. So you just say the word, big boy. Both Xboxes are getting used, boy. But yeah. So Pengi, obviously you're a man that buys every new game, so it's difficult for you for games that you've already written off in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But is there anything in the dark, deepest depths of your mind that you were?
Is there any chance for any of the?
Is there any chance
the
for
Switch failures? Basically, is the other question.
I suppose the biggest question for you, Chris, actually, because you're so unique.
Yeah.
When is the PS5 getting purchased so you can play all the PS4 games you haven't finished?
Most probably, I don't know, whatever, maybe early 2022.
So you're still sticking to you won't break this year?
Yep.
I just can't see
To be
that
fair,
happening.
the fact that he hasn't broken.
I'm impressed he
and
hasn't broken
Ratchet's
yet.
come out.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like I said, I don't think Forbidden West comes this year. So at this point, there's not really. If you're not going to buy it for Ratchet.
I think Forbidden West will still come, but I think it'll be like November. So, and then it's going to be Christmas, and they're hard to get already. So to try to get one at Christmas be a pain.
For you, it's FOMO though, isn't it? So like, Final Fantasy is the one. I don't think that's coming this year, even though it's on my fantasy critic list. I don't think there's one. But for you, it's FOMO. Like I think it gets to a point if you haven't bought something for a few months, and I know there's a lot of Switch games coming, but I think a lot of those Switch games aren't really for you. Because like I say, like me and Amanda have got a big list. Amanda's my partner, by the way. I've got a big list of games that we're pre-ordering together. Like so, one of us is getting one of us is getting the other. And there's a lot of multiplayer. There's a lot of WarioWare. There's a lot of Paper Mario.
Yeah, see, I'm not
getting. Which you're not going to buy.
No.
You are going to buy Shin Megami Tensei, which you won't complete.
Yes.
You are going to buy Metroid Dread, which you won't complete.
Yes.
You will buy Pokemon, which you probably could complete because it's pretty short.
Yes.
I reckon they've finished Pokemon, but yeah, the other ones have got no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dread is the one Nintendo game for me, which is like. Is a gamble because I've never really given 2D Metroid a chance, so like I'm willing to give it a chance because it looks like such a unique game, and already judging by the 3DS game, it's impossible to get that game any cheaper now. So that game is now like 70-80 quid for a 3DS game.
3DS games started going. Hey.
Yeah. Thanks, Rona. But yeah, so is there anything, Chris, that comes to mind? Do you think there's anything that PlayStation can do to break you, like a PSX or something like that?
PSX has been rumored, but obviously it depends.
PSX, Craig, is a PlayStation conference like XO19 for Xbox, just for because I know you don't know PlayStation as well as the rest of us.
Yeah, but then again, it's not gonna like. Let's say the Blue Point comes out and they show Metal Gear Solid Remake, which has been rumored for ages, and. That is for that, for example. It's not coming this year, so
I'm going to make another bet, Craig. All right, I want you to witness this. If Metal Gear Solid Remake gets announced and comes out this year, and you don't have a PlayStation, I will buy it and stream it, and you can watch me play it badly. Maybe in chat, we'll get on Discord, and you can watch me fail to stealth, and you can just be annoyed, and I won't let you come and play it. You won't be allowed to touch it. If you come, you're not allowed to like touch the controller at all. So that's my pledge to you, Chris. If they put out a Metal Gear Solid Remake, I will buy it for the sheer purpose of you watching you squirm as I play Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, but I can't. Like I said, I can't think that's coming out this year.
No,
so
definitely not.
No, and then again, if that's even true, but I was just using that as an example. What would be like a big hitter at PS?
Well, Silent Hill, right? That's. Because apparently people think this game that people have already said isn't Silent Hill is Silent Hill because they just don't trust it.
It is a bit of a weird one. Like a team that's never made a game have the first ever playable trailer on PS5, and like all their LinkedIn profiles are, like don't exist and stuff. Like
but aren't they all like? Because I've
sounds
seen
very conspiracy.
Yeah, like
it is pretty.
It's because it's a small studio from like a really random country, isn't it?
They're from Holland, and that's the thing. They also tweet at like 4 a.m. I'm like, why are you tweeting 4 o'clock in the morning?
What can you buy easily in Holland? I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It is a weird one for Sony to promote, but I don't think it is linked to Kojima, which is what people are thinking. sort of thing.
No, he's
But
making an Xbox game specifically for xCloud. That's all the rumors point to.
Yeah, apparently it's the game Stadia were funding, but obviously not funding anymore.
Yeah, because why would you want to have a win if you're a Stadia?
Yeah, it's like the daftest thing they mostly did. Like, Kojima games don't sell that well, but surely, if you want an exclusive, you go like, we have a Kojima game as exclusive. That would
what
be
is
huge
PR? Just ask Google because they don't have any.
Yeah.
They haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
And I suppose the last, because we're having a good conversation here. The last question I asked for you specifically, Chris, what do you feel about PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo so far this year?
Right. So Xbox, great year. Game Pass is good. Indies on it. Like there's been indies that I would have bought, which I've not bought now because obviously in Game Pass that I didn't like Spiritfarer, for instance, reviewed really well, great art style, great soundtrack. It has got positive. I would have bought that game if I was only on PlayStation or only on Switch or something. And it's 25 quid. I played it on Game Pass, didn't like it. Great. There's other indies that I've played on Game Pass that I wouldn't have bought, but I have liked, for instance, that stuff, and there's cool things like Medium, and then obviously Game Pass, especially after E3, have got a decent game every month coming, July's Flight Sim. Okay, it's not really my thing, but it's on Game Pass, I'm going to give it a go. And you've got Psychonauts 2 and stuff like that, and obviously end the year with Forza Horizon 5, which is a big hitter, possible game of the year game. If we do this in 6 months' time, I can see that being one we talked about. So really,
it's probably going to win our Game of the Year award, Chris. If I'm honest with you,
yeah,
I'll be honest.
Yeah, sort of thing. So yeah, that's pretty good there. PlayStation looks like they've had some decent exclusives, but they've been on PS4 and PS5, apart from Ratchet, really. But obviously
Returnal.
It's Returnal. Yeah,
it's more how have they done anything for you?
Yeah.
You haven't had a PlayStation for 6 months. You've had no. I'm surprised you haven't at least gone out and bought PS4. I am surprised you haven't got it, because there's I know stuff like Persona 5 Royal, and there's other stuff that you'd rather get trophies than play them on Switch, stuff like Nocturne HD and stuff.
Yeah, they haven't really done much
Obviously,
me.
they've had no they haven't really had any state of plays really. I think they had one. That short one that showed Horizon, and they haven't.
And they had the one with Ratchet as well.
Yeah, they've had no E3.
They haven't really done much. They feel like they've gone back, and Xbox done it in the past as well. It feels like they've regressed to their early PS3 stage. We won last gen.
Cocky
we're
robots.
The best. We have the best games. If you want to play them, you have to pay 70 quid for them. You have to buy our 500 quid console. Obviously, some of them obviously on PS4 now. They have gone back to that sort of mentality, sort of thing. Obviously, Herman Hulst spoke pretty well, but obviously Jim Ryan is, if I was in charge,
we believe in generations.
I'd be Jim Ryan would be out the door, and Herman Hulst would be in charge. Of PlayStation.
Jim Ryan is veering is starting to veer very close. He's not Don Matrick, but he's not that. He's very much end of PS2 Ken Kutaragi. He's starting to get there, which is not great. And obviously Switch, don't talk about, because we're having a whole episode about your year of the Switch.
Yeah, but again, I'm saying this thing, the PS5s are always sold out.
Yeah.
They've sold, I think it's over 9 million already, sort of thing. Their games have reviewed well, so I'm saying all this negative stuff, but if you're Jim Ryan sat in his office, you're going well, we're selling every PS5, we're selling, our game's still reviewing very well. He's going to go, what's the problem, sort of thing, which, so...
It is pretty damning, though, isn't it, when you think about it? When we have Mr. PlayStation sat there and Chris Bengeli, he loves the PlayStation, and they haven't done enough this year to make him buy a PlayStation 5. That is as damning as you can get, really.
Yeah, because I am a crazy person. I bought a PS3 basically at launch, where I was told I had to get a second job to buy one of them from sort of thing, because that was very expensive back then. But they had stuff for me, like you had Metal Gear Calling and you had Uncharted and stuff like that. But back then was obviously less cross-gen stuff because obviously PS2 and PS3 were very different. But yeah, no, not a great sort of year for Sony. And then obviously Nintendo is basically being Nintendo, going about their business quietly. They had a great E3. It's probably the most games since the launch of the Switch, hence the year of the Switch, that I'm looking forward to on the Switch. It's mainly the only thing they haven't really got. Like, you look at Xbox, for instance, you got Psychonauts, you got Flight Sim. I can't remember what else you've got, like first party or like exclusive. You have a big game in Forza Horizon that's guaranteed to come this year. Halo Infinite's supposed to come in December. PlayStation, you got mostly Horizon Forbidden, but Nintendo don't seem to have any big game this year. That's their only, I guess, only negative I can think on Nintendo.
There's a lot of remakes this year.
But they have a lot of remakes for remasters.
They're long. It's not like a remake in like, I don't know, like Last of Us to Last of Us Remastered. It's a lot of like Advance Wars came out in 2001, and it's getting remade and stuff like that. You've got a Mario Party which has got N64 maps on it and stuff, like Super Monkey Ball. The deluxe came out in 2005, I think, on the original Xbox. So you got stuff like that, which is, doesn't sound like long ago to us, but you were looking at 20, 15 years. And they're like proper remakes. They've got like new graphics and stuff, which is cool. So Nintendo are gonna Nintendo. They're always going to be top of the sales.
Do you go for a quality over quantity? Nintendo do have like the quantity this year, but they're all going to be good games. Like, especially if you're doing fantasy correctly and you drafted all these Nintendo games coming, you would have like all 75, 80 plus sort of game. But I don't think you're going to get any 9 out of 10 sort of like game of the year contender out of them. You're just going to have solid quality, decent games. Like last year, really, to me, they only had Animal Crossing, which was fantastic. But that was like, we have the big game, that's it. And they don't have like this huge.
I guess the only hope for them is Shin Megami Tensei 5, really.
Which I think
don't think
will be very good.
Well. I don't think it's going to review as well as Persona, because it never does. Persona's overtaken the main series now, we'll see.
I think it's going to do very well, and no one's going to talk about it whatsoever.
You know what? Actually, we're joking here. Poor Craig is not in this conversation at all. But I genuinely think this could be the one for Metroid. All the signs are like, a lot of people have pre-ordered it. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are buying up old Metroid games, and I don't know. I feel like this could be because Metroid traditionally has sold very poorly, very poorly. I think the power of what's the Switch on, like 80? Is it on 80 million?
Yeah, it's 80-ish million.
Madness, really. You think about it. For what it is, it's a handheld. It's a £300 handheld. It's on 80 million units. It's like twice as many there's Xbox Ones, for example. That's to comparison. Like, that's the difference. Like, that's how well the Switch has done. We remember in lockdown, we were working retail, how impossible it was to get a Switch through most of lockdown. They just were gone. Just in out straight away. So I think Metroid might have the hope this year.
To use Chris Pengelly as the yardstick again, because it's always fun to use Chris.
Yeah.
Saying how damning PlayStation it was. It does show how good Nintendo has been this year, that it's been good enough for you to buy a proper Switch again this year, get rid of your Lite, reinvest into a proper Switch, and they've sold you pretty much all their like exclusive games this year. Whether you played them is a different story, which we will get onto. But they've at least sold you them.
Well, the Nintendo exclusives, the Nintendo exclusives, like, I actually have played and finished.
Yeah. But it shows you like the quality that they've actually got this year. That PlayStation, you've not even bought the console. Nintendo, you've bought the console and pretty much all the exclusives that have come out.
Yeah.
And got basically them all pre-ordered apart from the multiplayer ones like Wario and Mario Party.
Yeah, and it's like Nintendo are actually at that point now where if I had more money, then I would have I'd be like Chris, because in this next month or next 2 weeks you're getting Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is going to be probably one of the best games of the year, and Mario Golf, which is probably going to be one of the most fun games of the year.
Which comes out on Friday.
Within about 2 weeks of each other, like just on top of each other. They just don't care. And they're doing the same with Shin Megami Tensei. Doesn't it come out like a
week
week
or two
before
after.
something else.
No, it comes a week after Pokemon, I think, or the week before. It's sort of basically the same time as Pokemon.
Yeah, and then you chuck in like Monkey Ball and WarioWare and Mario Party within a month. So if you used to like the GameCube and you just suddenly are very nostalgic for the GameCube, there's £150 worth of nostalgia you can chuck in. So it's and obviously to end on Craig, because it's probably going to have a Game Pass thumbnail. How are you feeling about Game Pass now? So obviously we are 4 years into Game Pass, and I know we've said it's a great service, but do you think the service is improving? Because I think it is. I think the quality of the stuff we're getting now is going up. Like every time you read out a tweet weekly, there is a game on there that you're like, I would have bought that. You know what I mean? Whereas I don't think maybe even last year I don't think that was the case.
Oh, I don't know. I think if you go back and look at my last year, so much of it was Game Pass. But it is definitely improving, like you say. And they do a really good job of picking out the games to kind of put on there. Like I said, the indie games that I played this year that came straight to Game Pass, the Genesis Noirs and the Narita Boys, those are all like great games. And the fact they managed to pick them out to get the deals signed up with them, kind of, like we said, there wasn't much coming out this year, but Game Pass, having those games kind of saved it for me, have given me something to play, which are all good quality games.
We do have a lot of launch titles on there now as well. I think the console launched 7 months ago, and we've got the newest FIFA, the newest Madden, Dirt 5, Like a Dragon, right? So the only things we're kind of missing from launch are the Ubisoft games. Am I right in that? And Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Pretty much? Yeah. Pretty much every other launch title is now on Game Pass in some capacity.
Dirt's on there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so Dirt came on there very quick. Dirt was on there for like 2 months. Like 2 months after we got Dirt, like say it's only been 6 months, we've got Like a Dragon. So, I think, as I've said throughout the year, I think an Xbox Series S and Game Pass is the best value you will ever get for video games. They will never, you go back 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, there is not a value that is as good as that package, in my opinion. For £300, you are getting such content now. You know what I mean? You really couldn't, if you were sensible like Craig, right, Mr. Sensible, you could not buy a game.
Oh, easily, yeah. And you could still play loads of ridiculously good games. Be it stuff that's already come out and is joining Game Pass a bit later, like a Dragon, and all the stuff that's coming straight to Game Pass, like your Back 4 Bloods and 12 Minutes and stuff like that.
And all the other Left 4 Dead games. There's like 4 of them.
Yeah, the Alien one's coming August, isn't it, I believe?
Yeah,
so
Alien,
great. Another one.
And a Cruiser as well. And you think as well, for even for me and Chris that have played a lot of games, there's whole series on Game Pass that I haven't touched. Like stuff like the Yakuza series I barely touched, and for Craig, like Final Fantasy and all that kind of stuff that you've never touched, and it's all on there. Now we've got Bethesda as well. Like I finally can play Doom. Like I've been waiting for Doom 2016 to get back on there. I can now play Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal on Game Pass and on my phone now, because obviously we don't talk about it because we primarily live at home. But xCloud is getting better and better. Like I keep seeing these deals. I keep forgetting to send them to Craig because he's probably the one person that's interested. Like the Kishi controllers for I sold them for £30. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that is like, so if you can suddenly play your Xbox in bed, without turning your TV on, like suddenly this deal is just going to get better and better, isn't it? Like, because they keep adding touch controls for stuff, which is mad. It's it's an actual effort they're making. Like Stadia isn't doing that, and their big strength is the fact that it's on the phone. So
yeah. But they've updated the blades to Series X.
I read that. If you play on a lot of games now, it's actually Series X's as opposed to the Xbox One S as it was before. So like Siege, why on earth you play Cloud Siege? I don't know, but it's one of the games that you can.
Yeah, because from their E3, like Xbox Wales is getting updated every day. I think cloud for consoles coming soon, and Flight Sim's going to be the first one, and obviously Flight Sim is only on Series X and Series S, so it makes sense. Obviously, they're starting to update the blades and stuff for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe August it gets pushed back slightly from July. That the cloud's now on console and Flight Sim's now there.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to get into that, but that'll be an episode in the future, won't it? So as we've gone on for almost an hour and a half now, boys, we're gonna end it. I think it's been a good episode of chatting. I have, of course, been UF Gizmo. If you like the show, drop a like, drop a subscribe, drop a comment. Tell us what your favourite game has been so far this year and what you're looking forward to, and tell Craig all of the great Game Pass games that you've played. So obviously we'll be back next week. Who knows what day, but I think it might be time, Craig. It might be time for the Chris Pengelly Year of the Switch So Far extravaganza. We'll be at the halfway point, so I think that's what we'll do. So thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.